It's Scam Assassin, and I haven't done one of these for a while, but today's one is going to be about eBay. And a case you might find yourself in, given the fact that so many items arrive incorrect. So I'll give you a bit of a background on my personal experiences. I've received things that are totally wrong in the past that are difficult to send back. And the guys will say to me, "Oh, would you like to receive it just for half price? You don't have to send it back." I'm like, well, it's something I don't need. But I mean, I understand it's worth asking that question because I probably asked the same thing if it was, But so I've had that for a pair of shock absorbers, sports shocks that I got for a car over in America one time. Um, anyway, the point I want to get to today is eBay. Their customer service is shockingly bad. What it is the fact that they hide themselves behind, well, the same as Facebook and every other company does nowadays. They hide behind a digital representation of themselves, and the reason that is so that they can slowly remove the human beings, and one day be a completely operated money printing operation, just like the big banks are, right? So no humanity whatsoever, no faceless corporation, right? That explains why Facebook has no customer service, for example. Even if you spend money with them, they have no customer service to speak of. Um, Apparently, in the background there is. In the background, there's people getting rid of people who are censoring freedom of speech, but there's not any real customer service for people to actually get an issue resolved, or someone died and you want to get into their account, whatever it might be. Any of these ad hoc situations. eBay is no different. So the incident I just had is I bought a power inverter for this vehicle, and I already had one and it got damaged, and I decided to get a different one. It arrived. It's got the same specs, 3,000 watts, 12 kilowatt peak, so the same as my other one, exact same specs all the way through. Yet this thing couldn't even run a microwave. It couldn't even run this TV here. TVs don't take much power. It couldn't even run that TV there for about 3 hours. So it wasn't to do with the load that was on it. It was to do with the fact that it didn't like being switched on for any more than 2 to maximum 4 hours. I got it to work for 4 hours one day just when the LED lights were on, these lights up here. So basically the thing was faulty, but I had to go through so much effort connecting things up and again and doing tests and shooting videos and sending them. It's just crap I don't want to do. It's not worth my time to do this sort of shit, right? So what happened in the end was the company's Taiwanese. They'd sent the item from Belgium. They must have a drop shipping place there, right? They gave me the most complicated address to return the thing to. I said, look, how much does it weigh? Because I don't want to take the thing out just to get a quote. They said it weighs 15 kilograms. They were wrong. It weighs actually 16 point something. So the price the next day when I went back to the post office here in Slovenia was about 10 euros more than it must have gone over another weight band, and it went up about $10. So I told them, look, it costs 45 euros to send back. I just went ahead and did it. Even if I didn't really care if they just give me back 30 something, as long as I got something back. But no, now they're telling me I need to remove the feedback. So they gave me a refund because they have to. The case gets closed. eBay themselves sent the email saying that the seller cannot print a receipt for this location. So eBay are part of this whole process, right? And yet they've got nothing, and because you can see they haven't improved their website for 20 years. They've only changed their logo. That's the only thing they've done over 20 years. They haven't done anything, right? The website's still as bad as it was 20 years ago when I first started using it, right? So they're just greed merchants. They don't care about investing any money in the product to make it better for customers. All they care about is, can we keep printing money? Can we reduce any spend whatsoever? It's just the same as most corporations operate. It's why they're so disgusting. And this is kind of why Amazon are spanking them in some ways, but then Amazon have got their own issues as well, and they're effectively a crony capitalist company because they rely on people being paid through your taxes, basically, because people get paid so little they have to get a top up of their wages, and that's socialism, right? So they rely on this crony capitalism, which is corporate socialism, and I'm sure eBay do as well, but I know that Amazon definitely do. So I think eBay just more they just outsource their stuff to countries where they can get away with paying slave wages, so Philippines and stuff like that. Anyway, so what happened is after all this hoo ha, I told them that I'm being extorted for feedback. I know feedback extortion's against their rules, And yet, after being on 3 different people on the phone who all said they could help me, none of them actually did. None of them, they said they can't do anything about the refund. I said, well, couldn't you just do an account credit? No, they can't. They won't give an inch. They won't even give you money that doesn't cost them anything. That's how greedy eBay are. And at the end of it, they said, I need to work this out with the seller. I said, well, you can see the last few days I've been trying to, but they're meant to remove it. So what you're basically telling me is I need to give in to their extortion in the hope that they refund me. Well, in that case, they're on the complete side of the seller. And I have heard this before. Amazon's on the side of the buyer, and that's why they're growing a lot more rapidly than what eBay are. And eBay's on the side of the seller. The same as Facebook are kind of on the side of the Facebook and YouTube are on the side of the scammer, because the scammers pay for advertising. It's the same thing that I made a video probably 2 years ago in this. I don't know how long ago it was, but I'd done a video back in Colorado when I was living over there. Probably 2 years ago now. Yeah, or maybe a year and a half ago. No, but check it out. So yeah, so eBay. If you ever end up in a situation where you need to send something back, what you need to do is refuse to send the item back until they pay the postage cost first. That's it, really, because then the case stays open. However, the only thing that you'll get out of that is being, I suppose, because this actually has happened once before to me, and what happened is I got to hold on to the faulty goods and I got a refund. But you know, if at least you don't get the satisfaction that you've still lost out, because you're still sitting with a piece of useless junk. But so in this case, that's what I would have done. I would have been sitting in a situation where I have a 16 kilogram paperweight that is no good for anything except for maybe inverting power for up to 800 watts. That's another thing. It couldn't handle anything more than 800 watts. That microwave up there, it couldn't handle it. That's an 800 watt microwave. If I put it in 700 watt mode, it would work. 800 watt, it would go up and down. It wouldn't work properly. So clearly not 3 kilowatts and clearly not 12 kilowatt spike. So anyway, I left the bad feedback there because I knew that if I put it this way, if I have no leverage when my only leverage is the feedback I have there, and I've given them money in good faith to send it back, and they're not refunding me in good faith, and I've already said I'd actually remove the feedback. Now I won't. Even if they give the $50 back, I actually won't remove it anymore because they're fraudsters. They're blackmailers, you know, and also because eBay rules say I shouldn't. But isn't it funny how eBay and Google and everyone else, they always stick up for the evil party, the party who's in the wrong. You're never right when you're a consumer. As I said to these cops also over in Colorado, when Big O Tires, these scammers out in, this is a company who stole my TPMS, the sensors on the tires. I hit one wheel. I got rammed off the road by a big Dodge Ram of all things. And there was road signs and stuff, and they have those sandbags below it. So my alloy wheel hit into it and basically smacked into, of all places, the tire pressure monitor system, the sensor. And it hit it so hard it embedded it into the alloy wheel, right? So you could see the shape of it. Later on, they say, oh yeah, you need 4 new sensors. Now these things, the batteries last for between 10 to 15 years in these sensors, right? And these had just been replaced the year before by the Infinity store. So when a new pair of alloys had got put on them. So I'm meant to believe that they all died in the same week that I gave them to Big O Tires. Same kind of thing. I reported it. The police said nothing they could do. Now, I had a corporation in America, and I said, well, because they tried to say to me the same thing that lazy pigs always say, and that is, it's a civil case, meaning we can't be bothered because we're not here to protect you, we're here to protect corporations. That's what police are there for, by the way. The army's there to serve overseas political agenda, and the police are there to serve the corporate internal agenda. That's kind of how it works in every country. In case you didn't know, I'm pretty sure most of you do. So the same thing happened there, right? There's no, there's no assistance from the system. You can't. You may as well just shout at the moon, and that's what you always end up with. So always beware. Whatever company you deal with, whatever scumbag company, and they're all scumbag companies really at the end of the day. If a company is worth over $1 billion, it got there by having the right policies that government put in place for it to get there. Simple as that. It's not by fairness, it's not by innovation, and they just tried really hard and they all worked really hard. It's not how it works. You only become a multi-billion-dollar company if you have lobbied to create the conditions to squash the competition and to allow yourself to get to that position where you're effectively exploiting those around you, whether it be workers, whether it be the taxpayer, or whether it be your customers. And it's no different with eBay. So keep the leverage on your side, never budge an inch until you get money in your hand, and learn that any transaction you do with any of these large companies, if anything goes wrong, even if you make your money back, you're still losing because you're losing your time. There's a reason they make the process in eBay. It's so hard to find a phone number. You notice how hard it is to actually get through to the stage of making a phone call. And even then, they want you to put in a number. You don't have a number, put in your postcode. Doesn't work. You got asked the question 15 times. It's to put you off asking them anything that's going to cost them money. And a human being costs them money. They don't want that. They want to juggle you around in the automated system. Same with all companies. Same with all governments. You'll find nowadays. I set these systems up. I set up Cisco, CUCS, and all these other unified comm systems, and Avaya and all that. That's what I've done over the last 20 years, in and out, and what else? Skype for Business and all that sort of crap. So I know how it works myself, and I know why these systems get put in. They get put in to streamline, reduce the staff footprint. So yeah, understand they all operate the same. I know I'm repeating myself now, but that's about it. To finish off the thing I was saying before about the Colorado situation, I said to those pigs there, because they made me wait for about 2 hours, I've got an alloy wheel. Why did you bring that? Well, it's evidence. It's evidence that this corporation, Big O Tires, he's the manager, blah, blah, blah. He's the guy, Mike, his name was, from Big O Tires in Aurora. He basically stole. He also defrauded an insurance company because he made them pay for the other three. Sorry, he made. What's it again? I can't remember how it was, but there was the way it worked is they was actually charging the insurance company. I think it might have been for the both front tires, but then I had to pay for two as well. I'm like, well, you've basically stolen my property. So there's theft, there's fraud, there's insurance fraud because he's frauding insurance companies, and there's more charges in there. They didn't care. It's a civil case, they said. I said, but it can't be a civil case because I'm a corporation. But they didn't care because they knew they were dealing with a human being. They weren't dealing with a corporate call center. And that's when they will help, you know. They weren't dealing with a child. This is what I said to them. I said, if it was a child stealing a candy bar from a Walmart, you'd be all upon that like a piece of toilet paper, you know. So they didn't deny it because they would be, and because they know they respond to those calls all the time. They go down to Walmart or wherever it might be, or Walgreens, because someone put a chocolate bar in their pocket, or someone stole a pack of tampons. They'll go to the full length of the law to arrest you then to make something happen. That's not a civil case. How come that's a human being against a corporation, yet that's not a civil case? Yeah, I had a corporation against a corporation, and that was still a civil case. If it had been my corporation against a person, that would, unless I can prove that I've got lobbyists, that would also be a civil case. Do you see how it works now? Whether you're a small business owner or whether you're just a person on your own, everything's a civil case, meaning go and talk to the wall. Go and pay your application fees for a small claim court settlement, which basically means if you go to the small claims court, you've got to elevate the cost, because they will all come out and just say, let's say your cost was $1,000. You'll go to mediation and they'll say, let's agree to disagree. Okay, are we okay for 500? And they'll just meet down the middle, which means the person who's owed the $1,000 loses 500. So whenever you go to, this is just an extra lesson here, if you ever go, like I did in New Zealand from my mother, to against Mitsubishi Cars who tried to rip her off, always double the amount. because so you start tallying things up, and you start to tally up your time, for example. That is a chargeable thing. So tally up your time, make sure it's at least twice, if not 3 times the amount, and then those a-holes will go half, and then you'll get your money back. Because remember, your time is what these people are also robbing off you. Your time is why these people make their customer service department so hard to get to. Your time is why they make the system so difficult to use that you don't know your ass from your elbow. Yep, that's about it. See you later.